Hello and welcome to episode 470 of Geek Town Radio. I'm your host, Dave, and joining me this week is Domingos. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Nice bank holiday Monday. And me, Dave, we've got a lot of entertainment to talk about.
We have. It's been a little while since you've been on because I was away on holiday and stuff. So what have you been up to? What have you been watching?
Oh, God, yeah, obviously, Geek Town was kind of a summer break. There's so much quality content has been coming out, actually. So we haven't had no problem there, whether it's in the cinema or in streaming. I'm going to start with a TV show that I watched. Really good. It's doing really well. I know number one from Prime is Butterfly. It's on Prime Video. Now, I didn't realize, but it was actually based on a graphic novel originally. Daniel Day Kim stars in it. He's producer on it as well. So it basically stars Daniel's character, David. So he was a operative for the CIA. Obviously, he left, went and started his own clandestine organization, underground ops, and then it all went wrong. Everybody supposedly thought he was dead. This was 9 years ago. So he got 12-year-old daughter, basically became a orphan, and his colleague that helped start the company, Piper Parabo, grew the company, took his daughter under her wing, basically looked after her, and trained her to become an assassin and operative for their secret clandestine company. So she's one of the best, and he's set in Korea. So that's one of the locations. He comes out of hiding and finds this out. And the reason he went under hiding because he felt someone betrayed him. So it's basically him trying to find out what happened and him trying to get his daughter back. Now, obviously, they come to a head and they're both highly trained operatives. So it's a bit of a shock to her. But then obviously there's other bigger things going on, government conspiracies that are far bigger that put their lives on the line. And it's the whole chase throughout Korea. I believe it was still filmed in 20 different cities. Terrific action, really good character development. And what I liked about it is, David, it's not just a bad guy, good guy. There's various shades of grey. So certain characters believe that they're doing the right thing, even though they're probably not. So David believes he did it for the right thing. Rebecca's an assassin now. She thinks she's doing things right. And then you've got Piper, his former colleague. He thinks she's in the right. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, it's basically about family, betrayal, love, terrific action. And there's a lot of family dynamics that goes into it. But like I said, I don't want to spoil it too much. It's really well shot. Part of career that I've never seen before on screen. I really hope it gets to season 2.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I've only seen the first episode of it so far, but I did enjoy what I saw of it. And it's actually only 6 episodes as well. They dropped it all as a box set, which is unusual for Prime. So yeah, it's quite a short run. The writers behind it, in case you is interested, the showrunner of it is a guy called Ken Woodruff, who you might know from things like he wrote on The Mentalist and he wrote on Gotham, and was the exec producer of the wonderfully bonkers La Brea, which I don't know if you ever saw that show, but
I did a bit.
Show ran for 3 seasons and was like a bunch of people fall into a big hole and end up in a primeval world and it's time travel-y stuff. Just great. That show, it's so stupid. Yeah. I love those sort of big summer silly things, but he's got a lot of experience with doing these kind of wild over the top sort of stuff. So it's interesting to see him do this kind of thing. But yeah, it's all up on Prime right now. He's Butterfly.
And I've got to add as well, Dave, Rainer Hardesty, man. I always say there's certain project where a young actor, actress, they take them to the next level. I think Butterfly, she looked like a superstar on screen, man. I was like, oh, okay, we've got another one here. Yeah, she looked really good, man. Like, she's one of the next things. She's been around for a while, but she's still young. I think she's going to do big things, bro. Yeah. And obviously she's got 2 terrific actors, Daniel and Piper.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a really solid role for her. So yeah. What else you got?
Another one. I think we've got a theme going here with our choices. This is The Assassin. Yeah. It's about a kind of retired elite assassin for hire played by Keeley Hawes. She retired 20 plus years ago. She's one of the best. She lived in mainland Greece, retired, enjoying the money she made. She got her strange son, who's a journalist. He comes to meet her, and then all chaos comes. Who's played by Freddie Highmore. Yeah. And then her past catches up with them, and they have to go on a run together. And we'll find out there's a conspiracy going on linked to her past missions, past operatives she's met, linked to billionaires and maybe gangland. You've got like a new fiance wants to meet them. They get involved and it's a cold mess kind of thing. And you see them going across Europe, going up against various former assassins and soldiers for hire. But her character, Julie, she's really funny though. That's the great thing about it. It's very funny. Like she's just blunt, and her and Freddie character of Edward, they're constantly clashing with each other and stuff. It's just great. It's got a good supporting cast. Devon Terrell, Shalom Franklin, Jared Kidd. Gina Gershon's in it as well, by the way.
Yes, I'm just looking through this.
And Alan Dale.
Yeah, Alan Dale from Neighbours, if you're old enough.
Oh, it's just really well shot. Once again, what I'm liking, the characters are really well developed. It's not like the two main characters. I don't care about everyone else. They really put effort into making each character interesting. So it engages you. And it's got the way they do this humor, it doesn't take away from the seriousness of the action and the brutality of it. And I hope this gets another season as well. It's just really good. I think it's still in the top 10.
Yeah, this is another 6-episode box set drop. This was as well for Prime. The other supporting cast, Jack Davenport's in there, Richard Dormer. Yeah. So they've got some really good people. It's from Harry and Jack Williams, who created The Missing and Baptiste. So that might give you some idea of it. But they were also involved in Fleabag and The Tourist and Hotel Babylon, Call the Midwife they'd worked on as well. So they've brilliant writers. I think that one is one that I keep on meaning to go to and just haven't got round to picking up because it came out while I was away. It is one that I do want to go and watch that one.
I need to finish it, Dave, because I've only got a couple episodes left, but so many things come up. But it's so good. Please do a second season. I feel like it's like a continuous movie. It's almost when you watch a bit of the movie, then you're waiting for the sequel. Then you watch the sequel. It's almost like they've done a trilogy of stories into one, but as a continued season, they've got that vibe. Very cool storytelling. But like I said, the humor is underrated in it. The British wit. Keeley is really funny. Her and Freddie, man. That's so hilarious. And stuff like that. But on to the next one, Hostage. Dave, you watched, because you said one episode, right?
Yeah, I've only watched the opening episode of this.
But yeah, no, it's a really good show. It stars Suranne Jones as a PM. Her husband is kidnapped, and a French president played by Julie Delpy, legendary French actress. Yes. She's being blackmailed, and the two political leaders face unmanageable choices, forced into fierce rivalry. They try to work together to uncover the plot that threatens them both. Her husband is Dr. Alex Anderson, and he's played by legendary British grime artist, rapper Ashley Thomas, aka Bashi. But he's also an actor. He's been acting for years, so he dovetailed between the both. Suranne Jones, her and Julie Delpy as a sort of female powerful leaders, have good chemistry in it. And what I liked about it, Dave, is that they go into Parliament. You see her in Parliament arguing with the opposition party, and a lot of the themes is to do with sort of migration and finance and people, the social, economic issues that we have in the world. So it's very relevant. Yeah. And while she's dealing with a kidnapping situation, and there's a lot of different characters involved. And Corey Melcharest is a good actor there. You've got Lucian Samati in it. A very good cast of actors in it. I'm really enjoying it. We've got Sophie Robertson in there, like loads of good quality, diverse actors. Beautifully shot, by the way, as well. The cinematography, actually all three shows I've discussed, the cinematography quality is like really high end. There's something I've noticed. I feel like he's leveled up in streaming shows, even more down than before. But yeah, I've seen all the episodes. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it keeps you guessing. And with all these shows, there's possibilities for more seasons, but it all depends. But it's like really good. I enjoyed it. And all the characters are engaging. And it's got a very 24 style to it.
Yeah, it's another one that it's Netflix, so it is a box set drop. But it's another one that's like only 5 episodes. So it's really quite short. Oh, the music in it's done by our friend Jeff Russo, who I've interviewed many times. Yeah, so Jeff Russo's the guy behind the music for Star Trek, basically. He's the go-to guy for Star Trek, and he did Legion and Fargo and Snowfall and Counterparts and a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, he is primarily one of his big gigs. He is the go-to guy for current Star Trek shows. So yeah, good supporting cast with that. I enjoyed the opening episode of that. I need to go and finish the rest of it. But it's interesting. There's 3 things which are thriller stuff, couple of assassin things, and they're all really quite short seasons. So you can get into those and binge your way through them because they're all up as box set.
And the protagonist, big, powerful female antagonist and protagonist, isn't it?
Yeah.
What still stood out for you, Dave?
I like political thriller stuff. And Matt Charman, who's the guy that wrote it, is the person behind films like Bridge of Spies, was directed by Spielberg, but he was the screenwriter for it. He's got cred as a writer, certainly. I really like Suranne Jones. I think she's very watchable. Julia Delpy is great as a sort of slightly acerbic president of France. So you've got two really good characters playing off each other, and there's a lot of decent mystery in it. So it is definitely worth checking that out. That's The Hostage, and it's all on Netflix. It says it's a miniseries, but it's entirely possible you could bring those characters back.
Yeah, so next we're going to change genre and the vibe. Freakier Friday.
Yes.
Yeah, this is 22 years after the original. We find Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan back, causing all sorts of mayhem and hijinks. So 22 years after Tess and Anna endured an identity crisis, Lindsay Lohan's Anna now has a daughter and a soon-to-be stepdaughter. As they try to navigate the challenges when two families merge, Tess and Anna discover that lightning strikes twice. So the character of Anna Coleman, she's engaged to Manny Jacinto's character, who's like a world-class chef, like a Jamie Oliver kind of level chef, Gordon Ramsay. And he's got a daughter played by Sophia Hammond, Lily Reyes. They're from the UK. She traveled Europe, very cultured and so forth. Anna's daughter, played by Julia Butlers, Harper Coleman. She's more of a surfer girl, California. She'd lay back. Them two don't get on with each other. And now their parents are together. So you can imagine that's a mad family dynamic. Anna's a single mom. Harper's father, they separated. Now, obviously, they don't want them to get married. So I'm getting to body swap. Just stay with me. Just stay with me, Dave. I'm just going to say who swaps with who. So Jamie character body swaps with Lily Reyes, her step-granddaughter.
Right.
Lindsay Lohan body swaps with her daughter. Yes. I was watching a movie and I was like, probably 5, maybe 10 minutes just to get my head around it. When he did the spot. And then I was like, okay, then the fun began. Even the actors in the press tour said that, like Manny and Chad Michael Murray, like they were like, okay, it took us a bit of while to see who's who. But yeah, it's really good. And the way they done it, because I was actually worried, Dave, when I found out, I think it was after Jamie Curtis won an Academy Award, that this project was going to happen. I was like, God, I hope it's not like a money grab sequel, but it's got a lot of heart. That's what really surprised me. It's got so much heart in it, and it's really relatable, and the way they do it. And obviously the culture of obviously Mark Hammond returned and as a long-suffering Ryan, husband of Jamie Lee Curtis, because he'd seen it before. And some of the characters from the original, Chad Michael Myers, Jake returns, Christina Vidal, their bandmates. Because Lindsay Lohan character, look at a record executive. So the band that she had in the original, they became like world-famous superstars and stuff. But she left the band when she had her daughter. So she's got like a big name in the industry and stuff. And Tess Coleman, her mum, is a retired doctor. It's really good. And he talks about blended families, moving. Is it just because we're related by blood? Or is it if you love people? It just really dealt with it. It hits a heartstrings, man. That really surprising it. Like, they did a really good job. And I think it's done well too. So don't be surprised we get Freakier Friday.
Yeah. I've seen the original years ago, and I should go and check this out because I do love Jamie Lee Curtis. I know Lindsay Lohan's having a bit of a revival right now. Manny Jacinto, for those trying to place the name Jason from The Good Place, he's
an amazing actor, man. He's so talented, Manny.
Yeah,
wow.
Manny's brilliant. And Mark Alvin, of course, people will know from NCIS, which is where he spends most of his days. But yeah, just a great cast. And the writer behind it is Jordan Weiss, who you might remember the show Dollface, which stars Kat Dennings, which was a wonderfully weird, out there kind of show about a girl who worked at this sort of posh makeup place but dealt with her own imagination, literally and metaphorically. She'd go off these flights of wonder. So it was very weird. And she seems like the perfect person to write something like this.
Directed by Nisha Ganatra as well. Yeah. It's like a really well directed and obviously well written. And there was another 2 young stars that looks like they've come out of this, but Sophia Hammond and Julia Butlers. We're going to be seeing them in a lot bigger stuff, man. Like they really did a good job because they're basically playing Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan.
Yes.
Which is a hard ask,
Yeah.
Lindsay's the iconic child actress. Jamie's just a legend, like, for decades. Yeah. So they did a really good job and vice versa. And all the actors who went for it, I was just like, wow, this is, even though it's like for family, it's some kind of adult stuff in it. I really enjoyed it, bro. Chad Michael Murray, he sends himself out of the kind of teen heartthrob thing.
Yeah.
Funny. Yeah, he's good in it as well, man. Everyone does a good job. It's hilarious. And like I say, Manny Jacinto does a certain dance in it. Like when you watch it, there's a certain dance from a famous movie in the 80s. So.
Right. Okay. Awesome. What else you got?
So after that, I'm just going to jump to Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it returned in August. You've seen the first season, right, David?
I haven't actually picked Wednesday up at all. I really need to go and watch it, but it bypassed me. And obviously, I'm completely aware of what it's about. But
basically, yeah. So obviously, your teenage years of Wednesday is at Nevermore, this school for the specially gifted. She's got these abilities that she's a psychic as well, that she inherited from her mum. She's a genius. She's a detective. There was like a scandal, murder mystery in the first season. Wednesday and her friends discovered it, caused chaos. A lot of teachers and characters left. She's come back. Now she's a new mystery. And obviously her friends have come back and there's new goings on. There's a new mystery, the new terrors to find in Nevermore and the city town of Jericho. They split it this year. I mean, Netflix are doing this thing with all their iconic big shows. They're splitting it. So part 2 is going to come out in September 3rd.
Yeah.
Now we've got new characters that get introduced in this one. First, we've got Joanna Lumley, played Wednesday's grandmother.
Good.
And Billy Piper comes in it as a new teacher in the school.
Yeah.
And we see more characters here, Joanna Morticia and Luis Gomez Adam. They return, like, hilarious. The dynamics are really good in it. It's much darker than the first one, I'd say. The budget looked obviously bigger. The family dynamic, which is quite enjoying it, that people will enjoy and stuff. And it's got the certain iconic themes and iconic scenes that for anyone that knows the Adam family, you know, would enjoy. Thing, the stuff they do with Thing amazes me, man. The technology is just amazing how far we've come to where we are today, which is amazing. And the way he interacts and stuff. And I like the fact that the character Thing has his own language, which they all speak with his hand movement. They're not as close in this season because she's hanging around with werewolves in their school. So she's coming into her own year. And then Wednesday doing her own thing. For her summer, she spent the summer hunting down a serial killer. That was how she spent her summer. A serial killer that she'd been tracking since she was like 10 years old. So obviously the police were useless. And she tracks him and scalps him. And it's a whole thing. The town's got a new sheriff. A few old characters return. Steve Buscemi returned as a principal, Dort. He's an interesting character. He's a pyromancer, by the way, controls fire. You know what? This one felt like a really Tim Burton. More felt like a Tim Burton show. This like he had the vibes, the stuff with the forest and stuff, iconic Tim Burton stuff. The first season was more, I said a more human based because they were set in Jericho. This one you get more of the characters and the students and stuff, and you get to see more of the sort of the different creatures and the mythologies going on. But I think it's broken records again, isn't it? I think so.
Characters. Yeah, you can tell how popular it is just by some of the guest cast. Like you mentioned, Joanna Lumley's in there, but you've got Lady Gaga, Francis O'Connor, Christopher Lloyd, Thundy Wayne Newton, Fred Armisen. Just Haley Joel Osment is in there as well. This is just a ridiculous guest star.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, I think they're still promoting it. They've been going to around the world promoting it. They've got these 2 parts, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
it's one of the BA.
I will sit down when I've got a quiet moment. I will try and actually sit down and watch that at some point. But yeah, it looks really good.
And obviously, Jenna Ortega's a superstar. First season came out. She just done the first Scream 5.
Yeah.
And people are starting to know her. Then obviously now she's done all the other Scream films and that. She's like a global superstar now. I want you and the listeners to watch it if you haven't watched it. So I'm like, I have to keep a lot to myself. It's a bonkers show, but it's brilliant. So yeah, okay. I saw this in July. The 4th installment in the franchise is the 4th installment, but in the story it's the 3rd installment. So I know what you leave on summer 2025. It returns with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. It's cool seeing them making a comeback. It's directed by Jennifer Caitlin Robinson, and she's one of the writers, along with Sam Lansky and Leah Kendrick. So basically, a group of friends are terrorized by a stalker about a gruesome thing that happened in their past. But this time, they've got the support of Jennifer Love Hewitt, Julie James, and Ray Brunson, played by Freddie Prinze Jr., who went through those traumatic events 30 years ago in 1997. So what's interesting about, I know what you do the song. If I actually watch it, I want to watch the original. Now, I don't know, have you watched any of them yourself?
I think I've seen the first one a long time ago. I don't think I've seen the subsequent ones.
Yes. So basically, the events that happened in 97, even within the movie itself, there's events that happened the year before the events of that one that happened that led to it. So there's mythology within the movie. And then also, I still know what these are summer. So this is 30 years later. Ray Brunson and Julie James, they were married. They're divorced now. He got a fishing boat in the town. She left the town. She's like a professor, but she's a professor to do with trauma. And I think because obviously the thing that happened is them watching their friends be killed. And it's really...
Yeah, she's experience of that. So.
Yeah. And what's really cool about it is they dealt with what would happen to characters that dealt with that trauma.
Yeah.
Like, it affected their life in such a way. Ray just there, and then she's run away, and it affected their relationship that they don't even really get on anymore. And now you've got the new generation that go through the same thing. Madeline Klein, who played Danica Richards, she's a rich kid. Shay Sue Wonders played Ava Brooks, one of her best friends. Jonah King played Marla Griffin, he found a friend group. Tyrek Rivers, Teddy Spencer, he's like the Ryan Philippe of it.
Right.
And Marla's kind of like the Freddie Prince and so forth. You got Sarah Pigeon, she's part of the friend group. Billy Campbell in it, he played Tyrek Rivers' brother, like they're a really rich family. But obviously, after the incident happens, they don't even talk to each other when they return, and people start dying again. But what we start to find out is it is not completely disconnecting from what happened decades ago. There's a lot of connections in it, like really dark connections. So what I would recommend, if you can, go and watch the original. Like, you don't need to, but it would be cool to watch the original. But there's certain stuff that happens in it that has a real deep connection. And they take risks with certain things, which some people will like, some people won't. But I respect the risk they took with it, though. I enjoyed it because it was quite dark and it dealt with stuff that kind of maybe they didn't really go into in the originals. With the thing about trauma, basically. Yeah. Trauma is a big thing and how we deal with it and how it affects us, basically.
Yeah, that's quite a nice angle to take with it. And, yeah, like you say, there's a solid cast. I love the Outer Banks, which is where I know Madeline Klein from more than anywhere else. That's a sort of great lead. I can see her doing the sort of screen queen thing on this.
And as well, Dave, you're going to probably ask, why would anyone live in that town? And you're probably thinking, when they bury things that happen, it can be done. You can remove things and put it under the carpet. You put it away like things never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that, Yeah.
That's a great selection you've brought us for your time away.
It might even be on digital now.
It doesn't look like it is yet.
It's not okay. I wasn't sure because it came out in July.
Yeah, but it will show up on streaming platforms.
I was trying so hard not to spoil anything, man. Honestly, it's difficult to explain stuff when you don't want to spoil it for the people. So thank you, D.
No worries. I did watch a movie as well this week, which is a home release, but of course has been out in the cinema fairly recently, which was Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Nice.
Basically the ending to the Mission Impossible franchise, although you do wonder at what point they decided this was going to be the final movie, because whilst it does round some things off and there are a lot of callbacks and things in it, it didn't completely feel like it was necessarily going to be the final film. Basically, it's a continuation of the last movie, which, if you remember, there is a malevolent artificial intelligence, which is known as the Entity, which has gone rogue and it's started to take over things worldwide. And it's getting to the point where it's caused destruction across the world because it's altering videos and turning people against each other. And it's managed to get access to some of the nuclear arsenal and all that sort of stuff going on. So it's mass panic across the world, and only one person can save everything, and that is Ethan Hunt, who is basically in hiding when we first see him, but obviously he's going to come out and he's going to save the world again, because that's what Ethan Hunt does. Interesting going into this, because we know it's the final movie, so you don't know whether everybody is actually going to get out of this alive or not, because for the last few films, he's had this particular core team, which has been Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, with Hayley Atwell joining him in the last couple of movies. So you've got that sort of core team. You don't know what's going to happen with those and whether they're all going to make it. So the stakes are a little bit higher with this. As a ending to the franchise, it's fine. I think it's a very watchable, stupid over-the-top stunts with him riding around on the outside of aeroplanes. It's got a big underwater sequence as well, because if you've seen the last movie, you'll know why that's in there without spoiling it for anybody. But I think it's perfectly competently put together. It's a solid enough ending to a franchise which has been running for many decades at this point. I don't know why they decided to bring it to an end. It's one of those things that may get picked back up again, whether Tom Cruise is in the lead of it or not. Maybe they could do a sort of spin-off of it, but it feels like it's something that you could maybe come back to in some way at some point. But in this iteration, this is certainly the end of it. And I think it does a perfectly serviceable job. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best movie out of the franchise, but it does a perfectly reasonable job at rounding everything off. and there are places that they could take it, but it's fine as an ending point. I think they've done enough. I mean, certainly everything was big and it was the entire world in jeopardy, and Ethan is there to save the day, basically. Have you seen this one? I don't know where you are with the Mission Impossibles.
Yeah, I caught up with it, man. I believe it got better when Tom actively took over the franchise himself.
Yes.
I think that's when it leveled up around when Jeremy Renner came in there, I believe. Around then, then it started to get really good and like it got to be getting more fun. When he took over it, Tom started helping producing it and stuff. I watched both of them in the cinema. The first part is the best one, I reckon.
Yes.
Like it's really funny, the story. This bit it got some good parts, it got some sad parts when certain team members say goodbye. Yeah, it just didn't have the fluidity of, is it Dead Reckoning?
Dead Reckoning, yes.
Yeah, Dead Reckoning was flowing, man. He had a flow to it. It was like, boom, this one, it was cool at some bits, and it seemed like the strike affected it.
Yeah, which it did. There was a strike in the middle of it.
Yeah, that was. So, I really enjoyed. Like I said, the Mission Impossible, they're always fun, man.
Yeah.
Where they go from it is, I think they'll come back to it in a few years. I don't think Tom will actually be me. I reckon they could do it where he's around. He's like a legend, but he's around, but he's not there. He's in the world, but he's not there. He could have played the odd cameo, but I don't think he'd actively be a main character in it anymore.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that was actually produced by Paramount and Skydance, which of course are now one company. And they've mentioned quite a lot of the things we talked about last week about what their primary focus are for TV and film moving forward. And Mission Impossible obviously wasn't on there because they've just ended the franchise. But I do wonder whether, give it 5 years, something will crop up and they'll decide to pick it back up again and do something with it, with maybe Tom producing and, like you say, not being the lead character, but being a side character in some way in it. So that is available to buy for streaming right now. Cool. The other things, the TV shows, Hostage, we talked about. And one of the new thing is King and Conqueror on the BBC. Do you know about this show?
No, that's the first time I'm hearing it.
Okay. So
King
and Conqueror, it's a historical-based drama. It's basically about 1066, where William the Conqueror takes the throne of Britain. And you've got James Norton playing Harold Godwinson, who is the king, and Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who is playing William the Conqueror. Those are your two big main leads. When we start, it's got Eddie Marsan in there, who's actually playing King Edward, who is the current king of the start. Because when we first get there, Edward is just being crowned. And then at some point, obviously, we know Harold becomes king. And then the 1066 happens and William becomes king. I wanted to like this so much because I like these big historical dramas. I love things like Vikings, which does a really good job. The advantage you do have with something like Vikings is a lot of the history of Vikings isn't really set in stone. A lot of it is through stories which have been handed down and accounts that are written way after the fact and all that sort of stuff. The problem with doing something like 1066, you've got to make a decision whether you're going to be historically accurate with it. And they obviously decided that they weren't going to be with this. And I think that's possibly a mistake because you can take certain liberties. There was a series, The Tudors, which was on a number of years ago, where they did monkey around with the history and they took some liberties, but they got away with it. I think when you're dealing with something as important to the British history as 1066, to screw around with the history to the extent that they do in this, I think causes problems because you're presenting it as a historical fact to a certain extent. Obviously, you know that certain situations are going to be manipulated for dramatic effect, and that's fine. But when you're literally taking characters that can't be in certain situations because historically that's not where they were, and having them meet other characters that they never met. You're having characters being killed off in ways that isn't their historical death. And there is absolutely no historical record of even hints of conspiracies. That is how certain characters died. You're playing with it to such a ridiculous extent that to try and call it a historical drama is just not accurate. And that's okay if you're presenting it as an Elseworlds sort of thing. Take something like For All Mankind, which is specifically set up as an alt history.
Well, is Joe Kinnaman in that one? Though?
Yes, that's the one that Joel Kinnaman.
That's the one. Gotcha.
Yeah,
right.
Which that's specifically set up as an alt history where the Russians beat the Americans to the moon and it sends history off in a slightly different direction. The problem with King and Conqueror is it's billed as this historical drama telling the story of what happened in the lead up to 1066. And there is no accuracy to it at all, other than the characters named Harold are there and the characters named William are there and some of the other characters are around. It's all over the place. And it then has the additional problem of that kind of, if you know anything about the history, that sort of pulls you out of it. And then just the quality of the writing isn't there either. And it's such a shame because I wanted to like this so much. And it's just not there. It's not there. And it's a real pity. The actors are doing the best they can with what they've got. And I've seen interviews with James Norton where he's reading through it going, some of this stuff is mad. I can't believe this happened. Sorry, James, but some of it didn't. But it's just the case.
I got you.
They've taken characters that weren't around for another 10 years and moved them back in time to...
That's our kind of Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I'm going to take this character here and move it here.
Yeah, it's problematic when you're presenting a show that is trying to say this is historical and then messing around with the timeline so dramatically. I know Vikings did this as well, but you're okay with doing it with Vikings because the history itself is a lot more fluid. Whereas with this, we have records for this. We know what happened to a certain point, and to mess around with it to this extent, I think is hugely problematic. Certainly, if you're in school, don't think, I can go watch this and I know about the history of 1066, because you don't. And if you wrote a paper on this and handed it in, you'd probably get an F. If you go into it with the mindset of, okay, it's a drama that's inspired by the events of 1066, it's not historically accurate, you might enjoy it. But for me, I really struggled, which is a great shame because I really wanted to like it.
I'm glad we mentioned it, Dave, because this has been an issue more than the modern, maybe in the last 10 years, 15 years, they're really on accurate. Obviously, you're going to have creative freedom to move stuff around, but especially in today's age with things like fake news and stuff like that, people are very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
The sort of liberty you're going to take with it, especially when it's like you talk about historic stuff, or you've got to be open with the public that you're going to take liberties and stuff instead of trying to, so it's a fine balance, because obviously you could end up really running people up if you take too many liberties.
Yes. The amount of historians that I've seen on social media going, what the hell is this, is quite ridiculous. As I say, as a drama, you might enjoy it, but bear in mind that the historical accuracy is all over the place with that. One other new show that dropped this week was second season of Peacemaker. This obviously is set after the Superman movie, and I haven't seen the Superman movie yet. So there are certain characters that show up, which I know are in the Superman movie, and they do show up as guest characters in this, such as Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, and you've got Isabel McSeed as Hawkgirl in there, Sean Gunn shows up as Maxwell Lord, as well as returning cast, obviously, John Cena as Peacemaker, Danielle Brooks is back as Amanda Waller's daughter, Vigilante is back in there. Frank Grillo as well makes an appearance in live action in this. It's Rick Flag Sr., which I think he does in the Superman movie as well, if I remember correctly. But he was in the Preacher Commandos, which has aired over here as well. And Robert Patrick is back in a really interesting way. Without spoiling too much of the opening episode, you might remember from season 1 that they had this sort of quantum chamber dressing room thing where his father had the helmets and stuff, and it was this quantum space within his house. And a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with in this evolves around that, and the fact that space has apparently expanded and there is access to multiple realities through it. You get a little bit of this in the trailer, so it's not really giving anything away that there are multiple versions of Peacemaker here. So yeah, that's the sort of way you get into it. But you meet up with Peacemaker again. He's trying to get in as part of the Justice Squad from the Superman film.
Yeah.
So he auditions for that, and that's a very funny scene. And obviously things don't go quite well, and goes back to his house and goes into the storing dressing room and discovers this other door to another reality. And that's basically where we're going with the opening episode of it. But it's great. It's mental. It's over the top, as good as Peacemaker season 1 is so far. We've only seen the one episode of it, but I think it's a solid start to it, and I really rather enjoyed it. Have you caught this yet?
No, I've been wanting to. The first season was amazing. It was one of my recommendations I did in Holly Neutrals. Like, it's an amazing show. The first season. Like, now people are starting to read how good. Got one of the greatest intros of a television show movie of all time, bro. Yes. My goodness, that was genius. One of the greatest. I need to do an article about the greatest. That is one of the best ever, man. Like, unbelievable.
It is iconic. Yes.
Iconic, dude. Like,
and they've done a different intro for this one, but it's equally over the top and ridiculous.
The music?
I think the music's different as well, but it's very much the same vibe.
Iconic, bro.
Yeah. So
it's brilliant.
Very much the same vibe. It's really good, though. So, yeah, Peacemaker is available for season 2 on Sky, and now I'm guessing season 1 must be available on demand as well on that. If you've not checked it out, go and watch that, because I
will definitely, man. It's very good.
So that's all the stuff we've been doing this week. Let's move on to some TV and film news. So we kick off the TV and film news with the renewals, cancellations and pickups. One cancellation from Netflix, which was Wolf King, which was an animated series that's going to conclude after its second season, they've said. So technically a cancellation, but hopefully they'll round that off in some way. David Mitchell's The Outsiders, which was a sort of game show format thing that he did on UK TV, that's not returning after 3 seasons, although Mitchell and Webb are back on a new sketch comedy show for Channel 4. So, he's not out of work. Faking It, which was the reality series that gave volunteers 4 weeks to master a new skill and then convince a panel of experts that they knew what they were doing, was revived recently by Channel 5, and they've cancelled that after 1 season. That's not coming back. The reality show The Genius Game, which was hosted by David Tennant, has been cancelled after 1 season by ITV. Gray saw this and said it was very odd because although it says hosted by David Tennant, it really could have been hosted by anybody, because it looks like all the hosting stuff was actually tagged on afterwards because he was never there with the contestants. So that's gone after 1 season. Road Tripping with Paddy McGuinness and Chris Harris, that's been cancelled after 1 season on the BBC, which I can't say I'm overly surprised by that, because it seemed like it was something to give Paddy and Chris something to do after they cancelled Top Gear. But I think they were maybe still under contract and they needed something to do without Freddie Flintoff. They did that, but that isn't coming back. And there was some news about Dexter, of the Dexterverse. Dexter Original Sin, which had previously been renewed for a second season. That's the prequel one. They've now apparently killed that off. But Dexter Resurrection, which is the current timeline version of Dexter with Michael C. Hall back in the lead role, that is set up a writing room. So it's not officially been renewed for season 2, but they've set up a writing room for season 2. So it looks like they're going to do another season of Dexter Resurrection, but Original Sin has been killed off, which is a real shame because Original Sin was really good, but the new bosses at Paramount seem to have looked at it and gone, we don't want 2 Dexter shows. We're just going to go with the original and carry that forward.
Had a very good cast as well.
Yeah, Original Sin was a great cast. And it's a real shame because the lad that was playing the young version of Dexter did a brilliant job. And hopefully we'll see him in more things.
But he's a brilliant actor, that guy. He was in Shadow and Bone.
Yes, he was in Shadow and Bone. Patrick Gibson, Christian Slater, Molly Brown, Patrick Dempsey, had Sarah Michelle Gellar in it as well. Christina Milan as well. Really good cast. And they really made great young versions of that cast. It's just a shame that for whatever reason they've decided they don't want 2 Dexter shows. On the renewal side of things, The Institute, which is the adaptation of the Stephen King novel, I interviewed a bunch of the cast for that and the creators of it, but that is gone down really well on MGM Plus. So that is coming back for a second season, so that's good news. Gangs of London returning for a fourth season on Sky, which I don't think is a huge shock, as is the fact that they've renewed Mr. Big Stuff for a third season on Sky. That's the Danny Dyer comedy thing that is coming back. I don't think that's surprising at all. Department Q, I'm very happy to say, it's been renewed for a second season by Netflix. That was wonderful, that first season of that. Really fun. I'm glad they're bringing that back. Also on Netflix, they've renewed America's Sweethearts, the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders series. That's been renewed for a third season. RuPaul's Drag Race renewed for an 18th season, and Drag Race All-Stars for an 11th season. If you're into Drag Race, they're coming back. If you're into Drag Race, you find those premiering in the UK now on Wow Presents Plus. There is a streaming service run by the people that own Drag Race, and it is one-stop shop for everything Drag Race all around the world. So it has every version of Drag Race from around the world in one place on one streaming service. If you look for Wow Presents Plus, if you're a Drag Race fan, you can go and find that there. And We Were Liars looks to be on the cards for getting a second season, not officially being renewed, but that was a Prime Video series.
Oh,
but again, they looks like they're setting up a second season writing room for that. So it sounds like that might be coming back as well. Onto some pickups and advanced air dates. The Newsreader, which is that Australian drama that stars Anna Torv and Sam Reid, that's been picked up by the BBC for a third season. So that's coming back in September. So we'll be getting that fairly soon. The Traitors UK, the first celebrity version of the UK version, which we've never had the celebrity version of Traitors before, but that is coming in October on the BBC, they have said. I don't know everybody that's in that, but Alan Carr, I remember, was one person. Stephen Fry, I think he's in that as well, who I think will be fantastic. Yes, the Traitors UK celebrity version that's coming in October, and then it'll probably be January for the normal civilian version of it. Man on the Inside, we've got a premiere date for that is landing for a second season on the 20th of November. Did you see any of that show?
No, I didn't, Dave, man. No, not at all.
It is superb. Ted Danson is the lead in it. And in the first season, he's approached by a PI that needs to get some information to find out what's going on in a nursing home. So she hires him, who is this retired professor, to go undercover in the nursing home. It's beautiful. It's so well done. It's actually based on a real life Oscar-nominated documentary where somebody genuinely did that. It was called The Mole Agent. And there was abuse going on in the nursing home. So a PI genuinely hired somebody to go undercover in the nursing home. And that was the inspiration for it. This is very much a comedy. It's from Michael Saw, who's the guy that did The Good Place. And it does have that warm, fuzzy Good Place feeling to it. It's beautifully put together. First season had some wonderfully funny and also quite heartbreaking moments. It balances that sort of tugging at the heartstrings thing really well, much like The Good Place did. One of my favorite comedies out now, and it's back for a second season where I think he goes undercover at a college. He joins as a sort of professor, and that's where we're going with the second season. But 20th of November for Man on the Inside. Worth checking that out on Netflix. It's really good. And Fallout, season 2 of that, coming rather earlier than we expected.
Love that, Fulber.
For a show of this magnitude, to turn it around in 18 months is actually really good going. But Wednesday, the 17th of December, we announced last week, we knew it was going to be December, but they've said Wednesday, the 17th of December on Prime Video for Fallout season 2, which I'm very much looking forward to. That returning. There is a trailer up on the website for that as well. There was another little bit that came out, which is the Beatles anthology, which I'm not sure how old you are, but I remember this being a huge thing. It came out in 1995, the original Beatles anthology. Were you even alive then?
Yeah, no, I was around, but I was like a very young man.
Yes. So I was in college at the time. So this was a huge thing. And it basically was a big anthology disc album that they released of missing tracks and demos. And there was a whole bunch of really interesting sort of stuff that came with that. They also had a documentary series, which was 8 episodes what they've done for the anniversary of it, they've released an anthology book, which is 368 pages and 1,300 photos. There's that coming out. There is also a new version of the music. So the original 3 double albums, plus there is now a 4th anthology volume, which has been put together by Giles Martin, who is the son of George Martin, who was the legendary Beatles producer. And that's got 13 previously unreleased demos, session material, fresh mixes of Beatles singles. And there is the TV series, which is the documentary. So the original 8 episodes, plus a new 9th episode, which is Paul, George and Ringo working between 1994 and 1995 on the original anthology project. So them like picking stuff and putting that together. So they followed him from that. And that is going to be an additional 9th episode. And that is all going to premiere on Wednesday, the 26th of November on Disney Plus for that Beatles anthology series. So, yeah, if you're a Beatles fan, that's your Christmas sorted. If you know a Beatles fan, that's the Christmas present sorted, I think. But yeah, all those 3 things are out over the next few months, with the anthology itself, the TV series coming out on 26th of November on Disney Plus. And I wanted to just highlight one thing that came out of the Edinburgh TV Festival, which was on Doctor Who. We've basically, since everything happened with Doctor Who, we've not really heard anything from the producers and from the BBC about it, other than Russell T Davies going, I have no idea what's going on. The comment that they've said, and it's fairly minor, it's not like some big announcement, it's basically just said, rest assured Doctor Who isn't going anywhere, which is possibly a bad choice of phrase, but anyway, isn't going anywhere. Disney has been a great partnership and continues with The War Between the Land and the Sea, which will come next year. That's the mini-series. But added, with or without Disney, Doctor Who will still be on the BBC, which is basically what we said when they initially talked about all this a number of weeks ago. Doctor Who is an enormous brand for the BBC. It's one of, if not their most profitable thing after Top Gear, which they don't really have anymore. So it is one of the most profitable things for the BBC. They are not going to let it go. And it will continue in one form or another, whether that's in partnership with Disney or in partnership with somebody else, or they go it alone like they always used to. We don't know. We're still no clearer on that, but they are saying it's definitely continuing one way or another. So that was the tiny update we got about that. As I mentioned, it was the Edinburgh TV Festival. There was a lot of TV show announcements from that, a number of new commissions from Sky. One is called War, which comes from one of my favorite writers around these days, George Kay, who wrote Lupin and Hijack.
Brilliant writer, man.
Yeah, just a fantastic writer. It's an ambitious legal thriller. It stars Dominic West and Sienna Miller in the lead roles, who are playing basically a warring couple at the center of a scandalous divorce case. Dominic West is a ruthless tech mogul, and Sienna Miller's character is his estranged wife, who is a global movie star. So they're getting a divorce, and it's set at the law firm, and it begins as this high-stakes courtroom battle, quickly spirals into war of reputations, betrayals, exposing secrets in the boardrooms, bedrooms, and beyond, is the way that they put it. Ben Taylor, who worked on Catastrophe and Sex Education, is directing it, pitched as the start of a legal anthology as well. But this will be the first season, but each season will tackle a new headline-making legal case. So they're planning to keep this going, I think, which is quite good, because you can then pull in big names each season like Sienna Miller and Dominic West, and you don't have to have them back next season. You can maybe keep the staff at the legal firm around, presumably, but yeah, don't need to have the main leads every single time. So that's one that they've ordered. There is another new show called The Good Daughter, which is based on Karen Slaughter's best-selling thriller. It's 2026 drama starring Megan Fashy, who was in The White Lotus, and Rose Byrne, who's in Platonic and Physical. Two sisters whose lives are shattered by a brutal attack 20 years earlier. Now grown, Charlotte has followed her father into law, but when she witnesses another violent crime, it rips open old wounds and forces the sisters to face the trauma that they've long buried. What unfolds is a blend of crime, mystery, and family drama, weaving love, grief, survival, and unbreakable bonds between the siblings. So yeah, that's the other thing I ordered as well. But yeah, based on a best-selling thriller, that could be another interesting one. There are a couple of sort of reality things coming. One of them, Gemma Collins' 4 Weddings and a Baby. That's an 8-episode series which follows the reality star. She drops the GC mask and shows fans a more personal side. This one sounds fantastic. Danny Dyer's Caravan Park. Danny and his family take on the ambitious task of reviving a rundown seaside holiday park. I mean, sure, it does sound like an Alan Partridge pitch, but why not? Okay, we're doing that.
Danny Dyer, eh?
I love Danny as well. Yeah, he's eminently watchable, and he's a decent actor as well. He's done some great stuff. He's wonderful in Rivals. But yeah, sure, why not? Danny Dyer buys a caravan park. So let's make that into a TV show. Alien Autopsy is a documentary series that they're making as well, which is about the 18-minute grainy video that was out in 1995 of a sort of autopsy, which some people were going, oh, it's real. No, it isn't. And then, of course, it wasn't. And it was made by 2 people in a London flat. And it's from John Dower, who, as a serious documentary maker, he made My Scientology movie, he made Lockerbie, and unpicks the story behind the tape, the filmmakers that staged the footage. And they'd also talk to UFOologists and government insiders about whether there is actually any truth, not obviously to the tape itself, but to what they claimed they were doing, which was trying to recreate a genuine alien autopsy based on information that they said they knew. I think that could be quite an interesting one, that. And the last one, which I absolutely adore, is called Drinks with Dame Judy, which is a one-off special in which Dame Judi Dench invites her longtime friend and collaborator, Sir Kenneth Branagh, into her home for an intimate conversation. Bear in mind that Dame Judi is 90 years old. She's effectively retired from acting because, unfortunately, her eyesight has got so bad at this point that she wouldn't be safe on a set and can't read scripts. So I love this for her. Invite a friend round, have a sort of interview with them. They have said that although they're pitching this as a one-off, if it goes down well, they're hoping they can convince her to do some more. It could be a series of her in conversation with various other acting friends, which I would absolutely love. I adored Dame Judi, and Ken Branagh's great, and they're great friends. So I think this could be a wonderful thing to check out. But it's called Drinks with Dame Judi, and they're going to do that initially as a one-off special.
Oh, sounds cool, man.
Yeah, I think that sounds fantastic. Channel 4 had a couple of commissions announced as well at the TV festival. The first one is from Stephen Moffat, which is already a plus for me. It's based around 10 Downing Street. It's called Number 10. Press release describes it as a house with a prime minister in the attic, a coffee bar in the basement, and a wallpapered labyrinth of romance, crises, and heartbreak in between. There are mice, a nuclear deterrent, and a lift that never works. The government will be fictional, but the crises will feel all too real. The show promises to be a biting blend of political drama with a satirical edge, featuring not just the Prime Minister, but also the conspiracy theorist that runs the CAF, the lift repairman, power-hungry advisors squabbling over cupboard offices, and naturally, the cat. I think this is fertile ground for Stephen Moffat. I love political satire stuff. I think this could be quite fun.
It looks quite good. Like I said, it seems to be like a thing like they do. We're getting a lot of political kind of content dramas, whether it's satire, comedy, or seriousness. I've noticed. Yeah, it sounds cool. Like, it's always good to show like something from different angles and different viewpoints. That's interesting. And the UK, man, we're masters of satirical drama, aren't we? That's where we make our money, man.
Yes, and Stephen Moffat's the perfect person to write this. So
he does loads of stuff, man. He's always constantly writing stuff, man. Like, he never stops there.
Yeah, no, he's very funny. He's written from Coupling and obviously worked on Doctor Who as well. But I mean, some of his stuff is just fantastic. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. Another Channel 4 commission is from Ronan Bennett, who you'll know is the man behind Day of the Jackal, Mobland, and Top Boy. Mm. And this is called Army of Shadows. It's actually based on a 1969 film and a book as well. But they've moved the setting because I think that was in Nazi-occupied France was the setting for that. And what they've done is reimagine it as a story of resistance in a strikingly different setting. Instead of Nazi-occupied France, it takes place in a near-future authoritarian Britain under de facto American occupation.
Ooh, whoa.
Which is an interesting idea.
Can I hit a nerve?
Yeah. Drama follows a former British army officer as he builds a covert resistance cell from scratch, navigating betrayal, propaganda, internment camps, and the moral compromises that come with fighting back. Yeah, I think this sounds like a really interesting idea. Taking the idea of a sort of Nazi-occupied France and transporting it with it being America occupying the UK. You'll see whether they manage to pull it off. But if anybody can, it's Ronan Bennett. And, Day of the Jackal was an outstanding series. Top Boy, it was massive quality. I didn't get round to going back to watch the rest of Mobland, but
I need to finish that, man. I remember I reviewed it on the episode of Batman, but I need to finish it, dude. We're getting tasty, Mobland.
Yeah, fantastic writer. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. But that's Army of Shadows. They've ordered that. And one last one that was announced from there, which is weirdly coming to you and Dave, which doesn't do original drama, but for some reason they've ordered one. It's a 6-part thriller romance, but it's from Howard Overman, who is the person behind Misfits and the War of the Worlds, the Disney Plus series over here.
Oh, with Jason Jones and Gabriel Byrne.
Yes.
Underrated, bro.
Yeah, very underrated. Really good show. So it's Howard Overman behind it. Urban Myth Films are making it. He was behind the Lazarus Project, which I loved, and Paris Has Fallen as well. Which is
I love the Lazarus Project, man. I was so gutted it ended.
Yes, I was very gutted they cancelled that, unfortunately.
Oh, Christ.
It's coming in 2026. It's directed by David Caffrey, who did The Gentleman and Peaky Blinders, so great director. It's called Hit Point. And it promises to be a bold mix of crime, romance, and high-octane action. The story follows 30-something detectives Leo and Bella, whose latest case drags them deep into the dangerous West London underworld. As their investigation twists and turns, the boundaries between their professional duties and personal life blur, setting up a heady mix of betrayal, loyalty, and simmering will-they-won't-they tension. It's just weird that it's on you and Dave, of all places.
I'm going to say one thing with Howard Overman, that he's very good at identifying young, up-and-coming stars.
True.
So many stars have come from his shows, man. They always go into bigger things. It's a pattern. He's very good at casting, or he's got a good team of people that are very good at casting, bro.
Yes. Some of the people that came out of things like Misfits, particularly, and The War of the Worlds.
Even the Lazarus Project, man.
Yeah, and even the Lazarus Project, absolutely. You've got, Rion was in Misfits, Joe Gilligan, who of course went on and did Brassic. Natasha O'Keefe was in there as well. So the Robert Sheenan, of course.
So many. Even the guest stars were gone on to big things.
Yeah, Antonia Thomas. There were some great people in that. Yeah. We'll see how this lands on you, Dave, and whether they actually give them a decent budget for it. But hopefully, but it's called Hit Point. That will land next year, that one. So that's all the stuff we've got for this week. Let's move on to some highlights from next week on TV. Highlights for next week, we have the Terminal List Dark Wolf, which technically is season 2, but it's actually a prequel. So that's landing on Prime Video 27th of August, and it's got Taylor Kitsch and Chris Pratt and Tom Hopper in that. Technically season 2, but it's a prequel. So, just to confuse things. Atomic, which has been trailered all over the place on Sky. That's got Alfie Allen in the lead role from Game of Thrones and SAX Rogue Heroes, and Shazad Latif from Star Trek Discovery. Those are the two leads. It's an action-filled adventure which follows two unlikely friends and even less likely heroes become swept up in a cartel plot to transport uranium across North Africa. Looks really good and really fun. So coming to Sky Max on the 28th of August, that is Atomic. Second season of My Life with the Walter Boys. That lands on the 28th of August on Netflix. It's Always Sunny, season 17. That lands on the 1st of September on Netflix. A couple of pickups by the U streaming service. Parks and Rec, the entire 7-season run of that is coming on the 1st of September to the U streaming service. And Superstore, all 6 seasons of that are landing in U as well. So if you haven't seen those or missed them somewhere else, they will be available on U. You can get them there. And then there is a new show coming called The Guest to BBC One. That's on the 1st of September at 9 p.m. on BBC One. It's a fast-paced thriller that centers on the toxic and beguiling relationship between a successful business owner and her employee. Eve Miles from, of course, Torchwood and Keeping Faith in the lead role, and Gabrielle Creevy from In My Skin is the employee in that. Called The Guest, 1st of September at 9 p.m. for that.
Yeah, Atomic, I've been seeing the poster. They're really pushing the advertising for that a lot. Obviously, My Life of the Water Boys, I know that does quite well in the YA community for Netflix.
Yes.
They're really big on that.
So if people want to find more of you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can check me out at thehollywoodnewssource.com. I've got a lot of articles and things there. I actually done an interview you can catch. It's been put up for the Hollywood North News, a Canadian Indigenous film, which is really cool. To interview the director and the star on it, and Tatiana Baptiste and Dal Dennis is up on the website on YouTube. Check it out. Go on the social, check my stuff out. Check past episodes I've done on Geek Town Radio. Me and Dave always have fun. We'll end up doing it on a bank holiday, I noticed a lot of the time.
Yes, I don't know why it works out that way, but yes, that is
not moaning though.
Yeah, always good. So, of course, other people involved in the show, Daryl, you can find at HollywoodNorthNews.net for all those TV series you love, which are shot in Canada, as Domingos just mentioned. Go and check out the interview over there. And Matt, you can find at entertainmenttalk.org for lots and lots more podcasts, including the Manchester United podcast, which I haven't checked what they're doing this week, but it hasn't been great so far.
You've got a Man United podcast. Sorry,
yeah, Matt has a Man United podcast, which towards the end of last season, I think was just an hour of him weeping.
Bless him, man.
But yes, you can go and check that out over at entertainmenttalk.org for lots and lots more podcasts over there. For us, of course, you can go to geektown.co.uk throughout the week and see all the latest air date information. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website post. Find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, Blue Sky at Geektown, Instagram at Geektown UK, TikTok at Geektown UK, and Threads at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you next week. Goodbye.